And on this video, I'm going to be going over my top 10 second basemen right now. Let's get into it. What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast on the Laracuente Ledger Network. And as I said in the open, today we are going to be discussing my top 10 second basemen right now going into the 2021 campaign. Now, as always, I encourage you make your own list, sit down and figure out with the pool of available second basemen who makes your top 10. How do your personal biases factor in? Let me know that down in the comment section below and we'll discuss it further. And as always, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that bell to stay notified of every time we drop new content here on the Laracuente Ledger Network. So let's get into my list starting at number 10, and that is Tommy La Stella. The new San Francisco Giant is likely going to have a very big year going into the 2021 campaign. Over the past two seasons, La Stella has produced an OPS plus of 118 and 127 respectively. Now, in San Francisco, La Stella is likely not going to have to be the guy or have to really be consistently looked at to produce, but he's quietly been one of the more productive players over the last couple of seasons coming out of the second base position. So heading on to a team like San Francisco that's going to be trying to push towards heading back to the postseason, La Stella is going to be a great addition, and with his offensive abilities, a lockdown spot at the top end of that lineup. So look for a big year coming out of Tommy La Stella in 2021. At the number 9 spot on my list, it is the defensive specialist Colton Wong. Now, Wong isn't going to provide you with the same sort of offense as some of the guys on the higher end of this list, but his defense is second to none. When you look, there's always a highlight reel play coming from Colton Wong. Now, he is a free agent and available to any team that is looking to add on a top-notch defender. So bringing in a guy like Colton Wong will allow your team to be a much better defensive team up the middle. Now, Wong isn't going to be a guy who's going to be totally lost at the plate, but he is going to try to swing for the fences at times. So you have to take the good with the bad when it comes to Colton Wong and the great of his glove. So getting into number 8 on my list, it is Ketel Marte. Now, Marte was at one point edging towards the top of this list. He would have a bit of a regression in 2020. But when you look at what he was able to do in 2019, he was among the very best in baseball. He would finish 4th in the NL MVP rankings, which just goes to show you how good of a season he had in 2019. Now, if he can get back to that form in 2021, that's definitely going to help the Diamondbacks, who are likely going to be kind of in the weird state of middle ground, not knowing whether to rebuild or whether to push for the playoffs. But having a guy like Ketel Marte could help push them towards heading back to the postseason. Now, as we get into the number 7 spot on my list, it is a guy who's likely not going to be playing second base for the 2021 campaign, and that is Jake Cronenworth. We know that the San Diego Padres would bring in the KBO star, and who's likely going to play second base for them. So this is because Cronenworth was listed among MLB Network's listing for second baseman, so that's why we have him on the list. But when you look at what Cronenworth was able to do in 2020, this was an incredible player. Now, playing in 54 of the 60 games, Cronenworth would have an OPS plus of 128, a slash line of 285, 354, and 477. And then on top of that, you add in solid defense at the position, and this is why he makes my top 10 right now for second base. Now, as we head into number 6 on the list, it is a guy who was perennially at the top of this list, and that is Ozzie Altuve. When you look at what Altuve does, this is a player who now has to be questioned, whether or not his ability was tied to the cheating scandal and why he was so good for so long. But we know that 2020 was a weird season, but it would be a down year for Ozzie Altuve. When you look at the player himself, though, the talent skills are still there. The skill set is still there. So we have to believe in a bounce back year for Altuve in 2021. But since there were such drastic drops in his production in 2020, we have to kind of limit his ranking on this list and lower it just a bit. But there's no doubt about it, even with a down season, Ozzie Altuve is still one of the best second basemen in baseball right now. Now, before we get into the top half of my list, make sure you guys leave your comments down below with your top 10 second basemen right now, and we can discuss it further. Let me know where you disagree and where you agree with my list, or if I'm completely off base. Let me know that down in the comment section below, and we'll get into the further discussion on the top. As we move up this list, this is another young man who's likely not going to see a lot of time at second base in 2021 due to the Toronto Blue Jays bringing on Marcus Semien, and that is Cavan Biggio. Biggio is one of these guys that has some of the best plate discipline I've seen in a very long time. When you look at his slash line for his career throughout 3 major league seasons, it would be a slash line of 240, 368, and 430. Now, while the batting average and the slugging percentage of 240 and 430 are not necessarily the greatest marks, the on-base percentage of 368 is significant and legitimate. This man knows what he's doing at the plate and does not stray away from his game plan. Add in the fact that he is a good defender at the position, and this is why he ranks so highly on my list. Now let's get into the number 4 second baseman on my top 10 right now, and that is Jeff McNeil of the New York Mets. When you look at what McNeil does, this is an offensive force at the plate. Since making his debut in 2018, McNeil has produced an average OPS plus of 139, amassing 30 home runs, 117 RBIs during that time, with an average slash line during those 3 years of 319, 383, and 501. This guy is not going to be considered one of the best defensive second basemen, but he's more than adequate to hold down the position. And when you look at what he does on an offensive perspective, this guy is a serious force at the second base position and merits inclusion in the top half of the top 10 second basemen right now. As we get into number 3, it is Ozzie Albies from the Atlanta Braves. The switch-hitting Gold Glove caliber infielder is definitely amongst the top 10 second basemen right now. What he does from an offensive perspective, being a switch hitter, provides balance and versatility to an Atlanta Braves lineup. Now, 2020 would be a down season for Ozzie Albies, but it would only be slightly down from being better than league average. We know that 2020 was a very strange season for many players who weren't able to kind of get the long season that they were to be able to boost themselves up from a slow start. Now, when it comes to Ozzie Albies, he will be heading into his age 24 season, so you definitely have to believe that getting back to the form of prior 2020 is going to be a much more realistic possibility than for some of the other guys on the second base list. When you add in what he can do offensively on top of being a Gold Glove caliber defender, there's no doubt Ozzie Albies is one of the 3 best second basemen right now. Now here's where I think a little bit of controversy might come in on my list, but number 2 is Brandon Lowe of the Tampa Bay Rays. This versatile lefty hitting infielder, outfielder, utility extraordinaire is one of these guys that I feel is very underrated in our game. When you look at what he's done over the course of his major league career, yes, the slash line, the batting average is a little bit low, with a career average slash line of 262, 342, and 513. Now the slugging percentage is real. The on-base percentage is a good number, especially compared to batting average. I personally am not one that's very big on batting average. I think what you do to get on base is more important. And we would also see Brandon Lowe have an OPS plus of 130 as an average, which is well above all-star level. We would see in the shortened 2020 campaign, where most people were struggling, a breakout campaign for Lowe. He would have an OPS plus of 152 while playing in 56 of the 60-game 2020 season. Now, many might question why he is so high on my list, but again, I think that when you look at the peripheral numbers, his on-base ability plus the slugging, and being able to be as versatile as he is and not miss a beat offensively, I think really has him at an upper echelon level. There was a real serious debate when I was going through this list between positions 2, 3, and 4, between Brandon Lowe, Ozzie Albies, and Jeff McNeil, and they kind of flip-flopped throughout the time of researching this list. But I think that when you look at the offensive ability of Brandon Lowe, plus being a solid defender and being able to be as versatile as he is, to me, solidifies his spot at number 2 on my list. So there's no question about it at this point. Number 1 is DJ LeMahieu. When you look at what LeMahieu has been since joining the Yankees in 2019, this has been an MVP caliber player. In both seasons, DJ would finish within the top 5 rankings for MVP in the American League. On top of that, since joining the New York Yankees, he would have an OPS plus of 145. And when you look at what DJ would do in terms of production numbers in a little more than a year because of the shortened 2020 season, DJ LeMahieu would hit 36 home runs for the New York Yankees. Just to give that a little bit of context, during 7 years in Colorado with the higher altitude that constantly boosts offensive numbers, DJ would only have 49 home runs throughout that time. Had the 2020 season been a full campaign, DJ would have likely been a lot closer to finishing and catching that number in terms of his home run total. As DJ heads back to New York with re-signing with the Yankees, this is a guy who you would have to assume continues to be on that MVP caliber trajectory heading into 2021. DJ is very versatile in the field, being able to play all over the infield, but being able to play Gold Glove caliber defense at 3 positions in the infield. That's something that cannot be discounted. Now, yes, I am a little biased when it comes to my New York Yankees, but there's no doubt about it, DJ LeMahieu is one of the best players and the best second baseman right now. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Again, let me know your top 10 right now. Where do you agree or disagree with my list? And we can discuss it further. As I said earlier, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that bell down below to stay notified of every time we drop new content here. We're bringing a lot more content for you guys this year and beyond, so make sure you keep it locked in and you stay alerted by hitting that subscribe and that bell. And if you haven't already joined us over on Patreon, make sure you head over there and join us, as your support is what's going to allow us to continue bringing you this content each and every week. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join me here on the Laracuente Ledger Network and the Baseball Banter Broadcast. This has been my top 10 second baseman right now. So I will catch you guys on the latest news, notes, or my personal thought, theories, and opinions have to be dropped about the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.